Yes, sir.
Salt Bae didn't just season steaks, he built a gold-plated empire. Private jets, diamond watches, and a car collection straight out of a billionaire's wish list. But now, his restaurants are shutting down, lawsuits are piling up, and the same luxury rides that made him a star might be part of his downfall. This is the Rolls Royce you get when you want to flex without saying a word. Salt Bae's Cullinan Black badge is all black everything. Body, trim, even the spirit of ecstasy. And if you've seen it in Dubai, you know it's got a pop of red inside. Red leather interior, starlight headliner, the whole thing looks like it's dripping in confidence and cash. But here's the thing. This wasn't just a car, it was a mobile throne. The Cullinan is what global moguls drive when they want to turn the sidewalk into a runway. It's got a twin-turbo V12, 600 horsepower, and weighs over 6,000 pounds, but it moves like a magic carpet. For Salt Bae, it fit the image perfectly. Smooth, commanding, untouchable. Except, that's not how people are seeing him anymore. Around this time, Salt Bae's Dubai restaurants started catching serious heat, and not the good kind. Diners were publicly complaining about being charged over $1,000 for steaks wrapped in gold leaf. Reviews called the experience soulless, overhyped, and pure theater. On TikTok and Google, people weren't praising the vibe, they were roasting it. So the Cullinan became more than just a car. It was the perfect metaphor for how out of touch his brand had become. All exterior glam, but underneath, something was breaking. When your restaurant's getting torn apart online and you still show up in a $500,000 SUV, what kind of message does that send? This one was made for the gram. Salt Bae's Lamborghini Huracan Evo Spider is a full-blown attention magnet. Fire orange paint, blacked out wheels, and a top that drops in 17 seconds. It's got a naturally aspirated 5.2-liter V10 that screams past 8,000 RPM. A proper supercar for someone who built his brand on spectacle. He didn't just drive this thing, he posed with it. He filmed it. He used it like a prop in his theater of luxury. Reports say he custom ordered it to match the energy of his early Instagram days. Over the top, hyper-visual, and walking meme of wealth. But that started turning on him. Because while he was revving a Lambo in front of fans, the food inside his restaurants was starting to get exposed. By 2022, multiple outlets were calling it overpriced and underwhelming. Influencers and foodies were walking in hyped and walking out disappointed. Salt Bae wasn't a chef anymore, he was a caricature. And the Lambo? It suddenly felt like the perfect symbol. Loud, expensive, and kinda lacking substance. Like yeah, it looks wild, but once the flash wears off, is it really worth what you paid? What do you think? When your food reviews tank but your Lambo's parked out front, does that make you a chef or just a showman? Now moving on to the Brabus G63 AMG 800, which is Salt Bae's take on a street-legal tank. This isn't your average G-Wagon. It's been tuned by Brabus to push out 800 horsepower, has blacked-out armor, and is rumored to be bulletproof. Inside, blood-red leather and diamond stitching. It's intimidation in luxury form. And honestly, it made sense at the time. Salt Bae was positioning himself as untouchable, the alpha at the top of the food chain. So a military-grade SUV with luxury details? Right on brand. But behind the tinted glass, his empire was cracking. Around the time this Brabus started making headlines, so did Salt Bae's HR department. Lawsuits from employees started surfacing, including allegations of wage theft, unsafe conditions, and hostile work environments in multiple countries. This beast of an SUV, built to protect and project power, now looked like a fortress he was hiding inside. Instead of shielding him from haters, it started to represent the wall between him and the people actually running his restaurants, the servers, chefs, and dishwashers. The G63 stopped being a power move, it became a symbol of denial. If your employees are begging for fair pay while you roll through town in a bulletproof Brabus, what story are you really telling? The name says it all, super fast. Salt Bae reportedly bought the Ferrari 812 Superfast ahead of the 2022 FIFA World Cup, and this thing's no joke. It's powered by a 6.5-liter naturally aspirated V12, one of the last of its kind, and does 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds. No turbos, no hybrid tricks, just raw screaming power. The spec? Rumored to be custom ordered in silver with black accents. Sleek, minimalist, intimidating. It was clearly meant to signal I'm not just luxury, I'm legacy. But that's also when the Messi moment happened. At the World Cup final in Qatar, Argentina won, and as Messi was celebrating the biggest victory of his life, Salt Bae crashed the field. He grabbed Messi, posed for photos, and tried to sprinkle himself into the celebration, and the internet did not like it. People called him disrespectful, a clout chaser. FIFA got dragged into it for even letting him on the field. That moment went viral for all the wrong reasons, and it marked a turning point. So this Ferrari, which should have been a flex of class and power, turned into a metaphor for ego overriding awareness. Just because you have access doesn't mean you belong in every spotlight. So here's the question. When your car says legacy, but your behavior screams look at me, which one do people actually remember? Back when Salt Bae was conquering continents with nothing but a gold stake and a viral sprinkle, the Bentley Continental GT convertible was his badge of elegance. This isn't a flashy supercar, it's a refined beast built for smooth coastal drives and 5-star entrances. His version? A white-on-white setup with subtle chrome touches, custom embroidered seats, and of course, nusserettes stitched into the headrests. It's very Salt Bae, theatrical but tailored. This Bentley wasn't just a car, it was a billboard. He flexed it all over Miami when launching his US expansion. From South Beach cruises to dramatic rooftop arrivals, the Continental GT convertible became part of the character he was selling. Suave, smooth, rich. But here's the thing, while the car screamed success, the restaurant business started bleeding cash. The London Nusret location shut down quietly, despite the hype and the high prices. A restaurant in one of the world's most high-traffic cities closed, and no one really noticed. Customers had already started catching on. The food didn't match the price, and the experience felt like a meme more than a meal. This Bentley, with its luxury veneer, now feels like a perfect metaphor. Shiny exterior, but underneath, a financial black hole. What happens when your lifestyle is propped up by perception, but the reality starts crumbling beneath it? Would you still drive a $280,000 convertible if your flagship restaurant just closed its doors? By the way, if you're enjoying this look behind the luxury, hit that like button and subscribe. We've still got more wild rides and deeper cracks in the Salt Bae empire coming up. Now this one, straight out of the influencer starter pack, except Salt Bae cranked the dial up to max. The Porsche 911 Turbo S, especially in that bold Miami blue, wasn't just a car, it was content. Think slow-motion reels, engine revs outside luxury storefronts, and videos of him casually stepping out mid-gold watch sparkle. The car is brutal performance-wise, 0 to 60 in just 2.6 seconds, but it was never really about the numbers. He even added custom vanity plates and used it in multiple Instagram stunts across Miami and LA. If you were scrolling during peak Salt Bae era, you've seen this thing. But as the car gained attention online, so did the backlash. Turns out, millions spent on gold steaks, watches, and cars didn't sit well when your staff is complaining about low wages and delayed checks. Reports started surfacing, late payments, poor management, even complaints of toxic environments in some of his restaurants. So now, the Porsche sits at an awkward intersection of luxury and tone-deaf PR. A weapon of speed being used for selfies and salt sprinkles, while employees are calling out poor working conditions. It's a flashy prop that unintentionally exposes the real story, that underneath the viral fame, there's a widening gap between image and reality. Because when your brand is built off showing off wealth, what happens when the people behind it aren't even getting paid on time? If you're rolling up to one of Salt Bae's restaurants, especially in Beverly Hills or Dubai, there's a good chance you'll spot this Cadillac Escalade ESV parked out front. But this isn't your average SUV. His is a custom armored version, reportedly upgraded with bulletproof glass, reinforced panels, and luxury finishes. It's the kind of ride designed to move VIPs who want to feel untouchable. It makes sense. At the peak of his fame, Salt Bae was hosting celebrities, influencers, politicians, all needing that extra layer of security and flair. The Escalade became his backstage pass, the quiet flex. Spacious, commanding, and dressed in blackout trim, it's part limo, part fortress. But while Salt Bae was gliding around in his tank-like Cadillac, the customer experience was tanking. Complaints started piling up online. Long waits, cold food, sky-high bills, and service that felt rushed and dismissive. Diners were expecting 5-star elegance and getting Instagram theater instead. And that's where the Escalade starts to look like a metaphor. Salt Bae is cruising in an armored SUV, insulated from the growing criticism. But no amount of bulletproofing can shield you from bad reviews and viral customer takedowns. The disconnect was becoming painfully clear. While he was rolling like royalty, everyday guests felt ignored, overcharged, and overwhelmed. It's luxury transportation, sure, but it also became a symbol of just how out of touch his empire had grown. What happens when the ride is more protected than the reputation it's meant to carry? Salt Bae's whole persona has always leaned into over-the-top luxury, and the Mercedes Maybach S680 fits that perfectly. We're talking top-of-the-line V12 performance, rear seats that recline like a first-class airline pod, massaging everything, and a whisper-quiet cabin that feels like a rolling penthouse. He wasn't just getting chauffeured in this car, he was gliding past critics in pure silence. This was his go-to vehicle for red carpet events, celebrity dinners, and dramatic pull-ups at his own restaurants. Photos show him stepping out in slow motion, velvet jacket, rings on every finger, flashbulbs firing. The Maybach was the silent co-star to the Salt Bae movie. But as the Maybach kept rolling, his global expansion started stalling. From Los Angeles to Mykonos to Riyadh, reports started showing that several Nusret locations were underperforming, not just slowing down. Some investors were pulling out entirely, and others were questioning the financial stability of the brand. Think about it. Behind the smooth ride of a Maybach, the business engine was sputtering. Social media buzz wasn't translating to long-term customer loyalty. Viral moments turned into parody memes. It became harder and harder to justify a gold-covered tomahawk when the food scene around him kept evolving and the bills kept climbing. The Maybach represents a kind of corporate denial, luxurious, comfortable, and focused on optics, while the balance sheets quietly collapsed in the background. How long can you ride in first class if the business is stuck in freefall? If the Porsche was his influencer bait, the McLaren 720S was Salt Bae's adrenaline hit. Sleek, aggressive, and built for pure speed, the 720S is the kind of car you don't just park for show. You launch it down a highway and let the twin-turbo V8 scream. Salt Bae reportedly kept this one in a private Dubai showroom, only pulling it out for curated content drops or high-profile arrivals. It's not hard to see why he gravitated to it. The 720S is exotic without being too loud, kind of like Salt Bae's early rise, calculated, precise, flashy but technical. The butterfly doors, carbon fiber everything, and 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds all scream "I've made it." But as this McLaren sat under lights in luxury garages, his empire was falling apart just as fast as the 720S accelerates. By late 2023, Salt Bae wasn't trending for gold stakes anymore. He was trending as a meme. Viral clips mocked his food theatrics. Customers uploaded parody videos. His World Cup antics resurfaced again. He went from prestige to punchline, and fast. The McLaren became the perfect metaphor for the collapse, built to go fast, to thrill, to capture attention, but without any real substance holding the ride together long term. That momentum turned into chaos. Meme pages that once reposted him for clout were now laughing at his expense. And while the 720S is a track weapon for those who know cars, in Salt Bae's hands it started to feel like just another prop. When your image outruns your reality, how long before everything else crashes trying to keep up? Now, you'd think Salt Bae would end things on a high note, right? But instead, one of the last cars spotted in his rotation is the Audi RS Q8, customized by Urban Automotive. It's powerful, clean, and flies just under the radar, at least compared to the flashier stuff in his fleet. But make no mistake, this isn't a humble daily driver. The RS Q8 is a twin-turbo V8 monster with 591 horsepower, wrapped in a stealthy urban widebody kit, matte finish, and gloss black everything. It's sporty and aggressive, but not overtly flashy. Probably why Salt Bae used this one more in Istanbul and Dubai when he needed to move around without drawing too much attention. But that's the catch, because while the RS Q8 might look like a toned-down flex, behind the wheel was a man trying to cling to the image of modest success, while his empire was visibly cracking. Recent reports show his net worth took a nosedive, with multiple restaurants bleeding money, legal trouble stacking up, and his once global hype fading into background noise. The Audi feels like Salt Bae's final act of control, holding on to something practical, versatile, and still luxurious, but nowhere near as over the top as his past choices. It's the kind of car you drive when you're still trying to look successful, just without sparking headlines. The RS Q8 doesn't scream opulence, it whispers survival. So the question is, can Salt Bae shift gears and rebuild from the ruins, or is this just the calm before everything finally stalls out? Salt Bae's garage used to scream success. Now it feels more like a time capsule of a brand in freefall. The cars are still there, but the empire behind them? Not so solid. Think he can turn it around, or is the gold stake era officially done? Stick around for more stories like this, or if you're into luxury with a twist, hit subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next.